research into the state and future of the Northeast Atlantic bluefin tuna fishery estimates that subsidies of around $120 million return an annual profit of only around $70 million. The research found that a sustainable future for the fishery, even without subsidies, could produce annual profits of $310 million per year if tuna stocks could recover to a sustainable level. The World Bank's own estimates suggest that if we were to eradicate the perverse subsidies which currently exist, curb overfishing and improve ineffective management, then the global fishing industry could contribute $250 billion per year to global GDP and on a sustainable basis. This offers at least hope of a long-term cure rather than a short-term form of relief, and one from which the vast majority of stakeholders would benefit. I know it would require difficult decisions and even more difficult implementation measures, but if we lift our eyes from the here and now and look to the future, I wonder if we really have any alternative. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you can see my point. Essentially, we have to do more today to avert the catastrophes of tomorrow. And we can only do that by changing the way we frame our approach to the economic problems that confront us. If we are to make our agricultural and marine systems resilient in the long term, for instance, we have to design policies in every sector that bring the true costs of environmental destruction and the depletion of natural capital to the fore. Well, having looked at these issues for very nearly 30 years, and being fortunate enough to have consulted some of the world's most eminent experts, I wonder if I might just share with you a couple of observations about how, it seems to me at least, it might be possible to do this. I would certainly suggest that social and economic stability is built on valuing and supporting local communities and their traditions, recognizing, as does the report from the International Assessment of Agricultural Knowledge, Science and Technology for Development, recognizing the contribution which, for example, diverse farming systems make to economic and ecosystem resilience. Policies that encourage diverse landscapes, communities, and products that can generate all sorts of positive results, not just in agriculture, but in tourism, forestry, and industry. So there is a need for policies that focus funding on strengthening diversity. Might there be, perhaps, benefit in public finance being more specifically directed using smart subsidies? The aim would be to target a diversity of production in more specific ways while protecting public goods. This is vital if we are to strengthen the resilience of our agriculture, marine and energy systems so that they can ensure supply and thus withstand those sudden shocks on international markets which are bound to come our way given the impact of climate change. I would also suggest we need a different approach to profit and loss, which would support corporate, social, environmental, and economic responsibility, and give us the means to evaluate the impact of our actions properly. This was, incidentally, what drove me to set up my Accounting for Sustainability project 6 years ago. The aim was to develop a new approach to business reporting which reflects the interconnected impact of financial, environmental, and social elements on an organization's long-term performance. And I must say I am delighted that an increasing number of organizations, including the British government and international groups like EDF, EDF Energy, HSBC and Aviva, are adopting this system of integrated reporting. In fact, last year, I expanded the project by launching an international group supported by many of the world's accounting and standard-setting bodies, as well as many major international accounting firms, stock exchanges, and the UN. What has pleased me most is that this initiative preempted the findings of the UN study into the economics of ecosystems and biodiversity, or TEEB, which reported last summer to the gathering of 193 environment ministers in Nagoya. Having conducted a global assessment of the multi-trillion-dollar importance to the world's economy of the natural world, it called for the present system of national accounts to be upgraded rapidly so they include the health of natural capital and thereby accurately reflect how the services offered by natural ecosystems are performing. Underpinning any new framework, undoubtedly, is the need for an integrated set of long-term public policies and instruments to encourage a green economy. Such an economy would rely on sustainable asset management, more productive processing of waste, the construction of new zero-carbon buildings, and the retrofitting of existing stock, and on achieving stringent energy efficiency targets for our buildings, cars, and household goods. If only we could look at the world in this new way, we could create significant and crucially sustainable economic opportunities. It would be an economy that would, on the one hand, put much more emphasis on planning sustainable urban developments and helping businesses to maintain biodiversity and safeguard ecosystems, while on the other, placing less reliance on those government subsidies and mechanisms which perversely can end up eroding the vital natural components that provide us with our essential capital resources. Ladies and gentlemen, for these solutions to be implemented at scale, we would have to see effective partnerships between the public and private sectors, as the President just mentioned, and they would also need to involve the knowledge of many highly expert non-governmental organizations. We could not leave it to the market alone. Long-term public sector policies need to be coherent and consistent in order to create an environment which is conducive to private sector investment. Only in this way will the private sector be prepared to commit investment capital. The market certainly offers a means of accelerating changes in behavior, but to be genuinely effective, these changes must be focused and clearly directed by long-term policies, and that means robust legislation and, dare I say it, just as robust enforcement. Now, I would merely add to this list one very important acknowledgement, if I may, and that is the role of the consumer. It seems to me that until we, all as consumers, really begin to demand sustainable products and services from businesses and governments, then policymakers will struggle to see the importance of introducing real change. Lately, I've been asking myself why the public has not eagerly embraced the many advantages in pursuing a sustainable future. My conclusion is that for too long, environmentalists have tended to concentrate on what people need to stop doing. If we are constantly told that living environmentally friendly lives means giving up all that makes life worthwhile, then it is no surprise that people refuse to change. That is why last year I launched a new initiative called START, which aims to show people what they could start doing, the simple steps that we can all take to make better use of our natural resources. So by working with some of Europe's leading companies, such as Kingfisher and Eurostar, as well as celebrities and marketing professionals, we are unashamedly attempting to sell the benefits of sustainability. As one advertising executive put it to me, we are making it cool to use less stuff. So, believe it or not, this smarter approach can actually be more profitable. As Marks and Spencer have found, an innovative approach to sustainability actually saves money. Now, I have to say, this process has not exactly been helped by the corrosive effect on public opinion of those climate change skeptics who deny the vast body of scientific evidence that shows, beyond any reasonable doubt, that global warming has been exacerbated by human industrialized activity. Their suggestion that hundreds of scientists around the world, and those who accept their dispassionate evidence, including, presumably, ladies and gentlemen, myself, who, rather ironically, am constantly accused of being anti-science, are somehow unconsciously biased, creates the implication that many of us are somehow secretly conspiring to undermine and deliberately destroy the entire market-based capitalist system which now dominates the world. So I would ask how these people are going to face their grandchildren and admit to them that they actually failed their future, that they ignored all the clear warning signs by passing them off as merely part of a cyclical process that had happened many times before and was beyond our control, that they had refused to heed the desperate cries of those last remaining traditional societies throughout the world who warned consistently of catastrophe because they could read the signs of impending disintegration in the ever more violent, extreme aberrations in the normally harmonious patterns of nature. So I wonder, will such people be held accountable at the end of the day for the absolute refusal to countenance a precautionary approach? For this plays, I would suggest, a most reckless game of roulette with the future inheritance of those who come after us. An inheritance, ladies and gentlemen, that will be shaped by what you decide to do here in this Parliament. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. President, you have been remarkably patient in listening to me, and I promise you what you decide here could induce the very necessary adjustments we so urgently need to make. So, can I ask if you will be courageous enough to seize the moment, set Europe on a course for survival and economic prosperity, and so earn the endless gratitude of our descendants? Thank you.